In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, may the peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad and his purified progeny, and may the wrath of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, be upon their oppressors. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the second episode where we are discussing the real differences between the Shia and those who refer to themselves as the Ahlul Sunnah about the Quran. As I said in the last episode, I tried to put many points in one episode, but it's not possible to do this because the initial video that was discussed by an individual who is a propagandist of the Salafiyah, many points were just put in one video within a time frame of, I believe, half an hour or 25 minutes. And it is not correct for us, and it is not sufficient for us to have 30 minutes to discuss all of these issues. So inshallah ta'ala, what we will do is that we will continue highlighting the differences when it comes to the Holy Quran. Now, to be fair to the individual in the video, what he did admit is that the majority of the Shia do not believe in tahrif, although he talked about some types of studies happening to determine whether that's true or not. But no, this is the correct opinion, that the Shia do not believe in, the majority of Shia do not believe in tahrif, or namely distortion of the Quran. And when we mention tahrif, we have to give a clear definition of what we mean by this. And what we said is, yes, the interpretation of the Quran, there is clear tahrif because people have misinterpreted the Quran. And in order for us to understand the Quran in the correct sense, we must go back to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi has told us to refer to, along with the Book of Allah. And in the last episode, we left off speaking about the ahruf, the 7 ahruf, and we showed before that some points of how one of their scholars, a Salafi who was very much against the Shia and referred to the Shia as disbelievers, he said that the particular recitation, which we showed in the book Al-Furqan, which is from a so-called Sunni scholar, it is from him, that aims to prove tahrif, we showed one of the recitations of Omar, which distorted the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, which we said that many, even young children, know. And the recitation was what? صِرَاطَ مَنْ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَغَيْرِ الضَّالِينَ. So this type of recitation was recited by Omar, but this Ihsan Ilahi Zahir, he himself in the book Al-Quran, Al-Shi'a wal-Quran, he did not know himself that Omar recited this, and he tries to show it that it is kufr and disbelief. However, as we have shown, if he wants to say this, then it is in his own books that Omar recited this way. Anyhow, let's get on with it. So they may try to attack us by quoting some of our narrations, by saying, as I said, oh, this ayah was revealed like this for Ali, this was revealed like this. But what we say is that you have to have a holistic analysis and a holistic reading of the narrations. We showed in the last episode, we mentioned many points of within our narrations, how it shows that the Quran is complete and it does not have any change. And what I say is that, yes, if we have these narrations, our scholars say that these narrations are ta'wil, so it is an extra elucidation on the verse, but not actually a part of the verse. This is clear. Now, to reiterate the statement of one of our scholars, Sheikh Suduq, he said that our belief is that the Quran, which Allah has revealed to His Prophet Muhammad, is the same as the one between the two boards, Daffatain, and this is in Al-I'tiqadat Al-Imamiyya from Sheikh Suduq, the Shiite creed, which is translated in the language of English. Now, what we say is that an individual who believes in the distortion of the Quran, me and some brothers personally, we went up to one of the imams of the Regent's Park Mosque in London, and we asked him regarding about the hadiths of a domesticated animal or a goat, as some say, eating some of the Quran, which he was not aware of. He was not aware of that. So this narration we'll mention later in their books. But we asked him the question, what do you say about someone who believes in tahrif of the Quran, that the Quran is distorted or some of the words and the ayat are missing? And he said that such a person is not a kafir, because we have to see, why does he have this belief that some of the Quran is distorted? We have to ask him. So this Imam of Regent's Park Mosque, who was leading the prayers there, admitted to us that it's not straight away that you call such person a kafir. And also what we say is, yes, we ourselves, if we see someone who might have such a belief, we have to ask him why, as he may have been given a wrong type of teaching or wrong type of information. However, what I do remember is that in one of my classes from one of my teachers, he was actually a convert who was Nigerian, converted from the sect who refers to itself as Ahlul Sunnah to the Shia Islam. And he was very strict on his position, believing that anyone who does believe in the Quran being changed or any type of tahrif is, in fact, someone who is a disbeliever. But what we can at least say is someone who believes in this would be someone who is deviated in their ideas, and we'd have to establish why and speak with this person to know why did they believe in such a thing. But something like this, as we said, Sheikh Tusi said, it should not be even discussed whether about Quran, the Quran, Holy Quran being distorted, because as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected this. So this is just a point for us to show. Now what we'll do is we'll present a clip, dear brothers and sisters, to show how, again, the wrong and incorrect information is given out, because this individual, he wants to show in the video that one of your big scholars believes in tahrif. But what we will do is show the clip and then we will answer this.
Kashf al-Asrar, he also mentions the fact in page 117 that he believes that the Quran is not preserved.
The book that he mentioned that many of them like to pass around, I believe it was translated by someone who was a non-Shi'i, and this translation was and is still not relied on now. It is not relied on because many who say that there have been changes to this particular translation of this book and that we cannot take it as a reliable source. So what we'd have to do is we have to ask the individual in the video that please provide us with the original source and with the original text, because what happens is that we look from the same author. So the disciplines of the prayer, this is the book of the same author that he tries to quote, and what we find in the book is something very different from what he tried to say. So if we go to page 282, and this is of the same author that he quoted, the sentence, one of the sentences below, it discusses the definition of tahrif, or what tahrif means, and it says after about the Quran, that Quran is without change and alteration, and it is of the book of divine revelation. The one capable of carrying this Quran is the noble person of the absolute friend of Allah, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So Imam Ali alayhi salam is the one capable of carrying this Quran, and the sentence says the Quran is without change and alteration. And as you can see, this is the book here, Adab al-Salah, the disciplines of prayer. And we mentioned here how the same author actually negates tahrif. So Mohammed Hijab in the clip, he just quoted a book that he's probably read online, this reference, and he's not actually checked it himself. So we've negated that point. Now we go back to our discussion of the 7 ahruf. The difference between our Quran and theirs is that their Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf, whereas Imam Baqir alayhi salam, the 5th Shia Imam, he said that the Quran is one revealed from the one. The differences have been caused by the narrators. So clearly here we see a distinct difference. They believe Quran is in 7 ahruf, we believe the Quran is 1 harf. And then we have another narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the 6th Shia Imam. And someone asked him, people are saying that the Quran was revealed in 7 harfs. The Imam said they lie. So yakdibun, those who oppose God, undoubtedly it was revealed by 1 harf from the one being. So Imam Baqir alayhi salam, the 5th Imam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the 6th Imam, have both mentioned that the Quran was not revealed in the 7 ahruf, which was caused by the people. And Sayyid Muhaqqiq al-Khuwi, in his prolegomena of the Quran, he also mentions these points and he quotes these narrations. And this book, he uses this book to disprove the occurrence of any distortion in the Quran according to the Shia view. So what we have is that we have these two narrations here. So for us, we recap on this point. Our Quran is in fact simple, whereas their Quran is complicated. Now what is meant by the 7 ahruf? This is where we repeat the point again, that due to the poor scholarship of their scholars, many of them have disagreements as to what the 7 ahruf even are. So we can say that we have one Quran, whereas many of them in reality they have 7 different Qurans, and many of their Qurans have been in fact lost, as we will show. So let's first turn to a very relied upon book for the Quranic sciences. This book is by Yasir Qadi, and the book is entitled An Introduction to the Sciences of the Quran, Abu Ammar Yasir Qadi. Now Yasir Qadi, on page 175, he mentions that the scholars say that there are 35 or even 40 opinions on what the ahruf are. So what we do, inshallah ta'ala, we turn to the page to quote exactly what he said. So here, as for what is meant by the 7 ahruf, there is a great deal of difference on this issue. Ibn Qutaybah died in the 276th after Hijrah, as mentioned here. Ibn Qutaybah recorded 35 opinions on this issue, and As-Suyuti listed over 40. So what he shows here is that their scholars are in disagreement as to what exactly the ahruf are, which their Quran was revealed in, which makes their Quran very complicated from the start, and our Quran simple as according to our Imams. So it is, of course, something that is based off their narrations, and we will state the opinions, inshallah ta'ala. So point number 1, the Quran was revealed in different dialects of the main Arab tribes. So instead of the Quran being revealed as one harf, it was revealed in all of these various different dialects to make it somewhat easier for the Arabs to recite. Now, Yasir Qadi again, on page 177, he says that point number 1 under that subtitle that I read, the 7 ahruf refer to the 7 dialects, lughat, of the Arabs prevalent at the time of the Prophet. Each of these dialects belongs to a tribe among the Arabs. So the 7 ahruf refer to the 7 dialects. So what we say and we criticize this opinion is that firstly, the 7 ahruf, according to some of their scholars, was that the Quran was revealed in 7 dialects, making again the Quran something that is not simple and that is thus complicated. Now, what we say and we criticize this is that this in fact makes no sense, because why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when when people who are non-Arabic speaking come to Islam, or converts come to Islam, they are able to memorize the Quran, they are able to recite the Quran, and some of them very beautifully, even though they are from a non-Arab background. Yet we see this, that the Quran was apparently revealed in all these different dialects, which makes no sense at all, as this would actually make the Quran more complicated and difficult, and this would also allow a way for distortion to come, which we will show. So this destroys the popular Salafi arguments, because what we see is the Salafis constantly engaging in discussion with the non-Muslims, saying that yes, the Quran is one, the Quran is simple and one. It's not like the Bible that there's so many different versions, that it's been distorted. However, when you delve deeper into their books, one of the most popular Quranic sciences books of Yasir Qadi clearly states that many of their scholars say that the Quran was in all of these different dialects. So this is one point of what they say the ahruf are. Now, it gets worse in this stage, because a non-Muslim could argue that, okay, firstly, your Quran is initially revealed in all of these different dialects. That's one point. But it gets worse because your third caliph, the one Uthman, your third caliph, he in fact burnt 6 of these other ahruf that you have. So what we say is that in reality 6/7 6/7 of the Quran are in fact lost, because many of their scholars now are now debating. First, they cannot define ahruf, what ahruf are. Secondly, after that, when they cannot define the ahruf and they have their ikhtilaf amongst themselves, their differences, they then disagree and argue on whether the ahruf are even preserved. Now, what we know is that many of their scholars, such as Tabari, some of their scholars such as Tabari, held the opinion that Uthman, he burnt all the other 6 harfs and kept 1 harf. So this is a big problem for them, because tahrif, they want to accuse us of tahrif when they themselves have lost 6/7 of the Quran. What we do is that we go to Yasir Qadi's book, where he discusses about the ahruf, and he discusses about Uthman and how he burnt these ahruf. So what we do is we go on page 179, and what we see is Tabari is quoted as to saying that why the companions in fact burned these ahruf. And Tabari says the 7 ahruf were revealed by Allah during the time of the Prophet ﷺ to facilitate the memorization of the Quran, since the dialects of the Arabs were very many. The facilitation was not necessary to preserve, and eventually there was no need of it. So the Quran was revealed this way, then it was burnt. In fact, it became the cause of dissension amongst the Muslims, as those people new to Islam began going over the differences in the recitation of the Quran. So Tabari here, one of their big scholars from the sect who refers to itself as Ahlus Sunnah, is saying what? He is saying that this was initially to make it easier, but as we said, this does not make sense. Why would it be revealed in such a way? And then after that, people started arguing over the Quran. So what happens now? Tabari states, and this is on page 180 of Yasir Qadi's book, therefore Allah inspired Uthman to discard the other 6 ahruf and collect the Quran in 1 harf, so that the ummah would be united in its recitation. The companions agreed in this action of his, and the agreement of the companions is binding on the ummah. So he puts a footnote as well, and he tries to define. He says that the ilham is given to pious people, and it's not wahi given to the prophets. So he carries on with the footnote. But what's interesting here is that if we were to say that the imams receive ilham, that they receive a type of inspiration, they would say that you are disbelievers, you are uttering kufr, disbelief, you are giving your imams godlike attributes, you're saying your imams are gods. But when it's Uthman, it's fine. When it's Uthman, he gets some inspiration from Allah to go burn all of the six Qur'ans and leave 1. So clearly here from Yasir Qadi's book, it is showing that Uthman, their 3rd so-called caliph, he in fact, what did he do? He burnt 6/7 of the Quran, and they are left with 1. So the ahruf, what they have, according to some of their scholars, is gone. These ahruf are gone, therefore meaning what? That a lot, 6/7 of their Quran is, in fact, it has been burned. So who believes in tahrif? When we go to their scholars, we show that they believe that Uthman got some divine inspiration from Allah to go burn the Quran. So this is, you can see now that if a non-Muslim looks into this, and he looks into some of their sources and sees that, okay, you Salafis are arguing with me. You're coming to Speaker's Corner, you're arguing the Quran is 1, it's so miraculously preserved. But when I look in your books, your scholars say that what? The Quran is revealed in 7 ahruf. I try to look what the 7 ahruf actually are according to your scholars. You have ikhtilaf, you have 35 to 40 different opinions. And then after that, I want to see that, okay, have these ahruf even been preserved? No, your ahruf have been burned according to some of your scholars, that your 3rd so-called caliph, he just burned your Quran, which actually leaves you with only 1 harf and 6/7 of your Quran missing. So how am I meant to believe in the preservation of the Quran as a non-Muslim? This could easily be argued against them because, as we said, because of Uthman's so-called divine inspiration, he burned some of the Quran. So this is one opinion with regards to the Ahraf. With regard to the Ahraf, what do we say again? They believe that the Ahraf is the seven dialects of the Arabic, the different Arab tribes, and that they were eventually burned, showing that they themselves cannot speak about distortion of the Quran because they should not throw stones when they live in a glass house. So we see the very foundation for them, the Quran, which is meant to be something that is solid, is in fact questionable. They have a very shaky foundation according to their text. The second opinion is that some believe that the Ahraf are the 7 readings. So they say that because we need to make a distinction, the Ahraf are not the same as the 7 qira'at. That is another topic that could be discussed in depth. But no, some believe they are the same as the 7 readings. And they make it more problematic because, as we've shown, because some of the readings of Sahaba don't exist in any of the versions they have today, then how can they say that it is the 7 readings? Just like Omar's recitation and many of the other companions, according to their books, the recitation, which can be found in Al-Furqan from the sources of the sect that refers to itself as Ahlus Sunnah. We see that from these readings and these changes that their companions, according to their narrative, their companions did to the Quran. We cannot trust the Quran and say that it's the same as the 7 readings that they have today because we don't find some of these ayat that have been recited in some of the places. So, and it gets worse than that, dear brothers and sisters. If we look in Al-Furqan by this scholar from their sect, he doesn't just say that the Sahaba in fact changed the Quran, no. If we go to page, I believe, page 50, we find that the Umayyad governor of Iraq, he actually, according to this person from their sources, Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf al-Thaqafi, as they call him, he changed the Quran according to page 50. So it wasn't just all of the companions that did this, it was governors as well, Umayyad governors that apparently changed the Quran. So if we go into the next part, yes, as I said, if they want to say the Ahraf are the same as the Qira'at, then what we find is that this becomes more problematic because, as we said, some of their companions do not have these readings that you find today in their Qur'ans. And what we also find is that Abdullah bin Mas'ud and Al-A'mash, one of the generations who they follow after the Sahaba, Tabi'i, he recited in Surah Al-Masad, he recited one of the verses and added وَقَدْ تَبْ. And this is proven in Sahih al-Bukhari in volume 6, translated by Dar es-Salam Muhammad Mohsen Khan. We will show in the next episode how this recitation, some of the Quran, after the Uthmanic compilation of the Quran, the Uthmanic Mus'haf, some of these righteous generation that they follow still altered the Quran and added words in the Quran. So just to sum up this episode, and we wanted to get all of this in one episode, and I do apologize if I've been speaking a bit fast, but we've been trying to get this as short as possible, but we will have to make a third episode, inshallah ta'ala, to continue about the Shia and the difference of the Quran between the Shia and the sect who refers to itself as the Ahlus Sunnah. We will continue on this topic by showing what this follower of one of the people that they follow, how he recited the Quran. So in this episode, just to sum up again, we discussed that firstly, their scholars, they say that the Quran is revealed in 7 ahraf, and actually this is based on their narrations as well, and their scholars differ on this matter. And some of their scholars believe that Uthman, he was ordered to burn all of these ahraf except one, which was some type of divine ilham, inspiration from Allah. And we said it makes it very problematic because this necessitates tahrif, direct distortion of the Quran, because many of it is missing. And we said that the 7 qira'at cannot be, one of the opinions is that, okay, it was the dialects, the 7 different dialects. The next opinion is it was these different readings, but this cannot be a valid, correct opinion, as some of these readings of the Sahaba, which we find in their books, do not exist today in any of these Qur'ans or different readings that they read for. So Inshallah ta'ala, please join me for the next episode where we will start with reading Sahih al-Bukhari, where Al-A'mash actually recited, At-Tabi'i, he actually recited after the Sahaba, one of the generations that they follow, the Quran in a different way as to what we have today. So inshallah ta'ala, join me next time, dear brothers and sisters.